Hello, everyone, and welcome into the program this evening. It has been a minute, but we are at full capacity tonight. Hello there, Mr. Allen. How are you? How you doing, buddy? It's been a minute.
I'm good.
It's been a minute since we've saw you last out here in the podcasting world. It's good to have you back.
Thanks.
Been busy over the past little bit, haven't you, bud?
Yeah.
Baltimore.
Washington.
Got life coming up. All kinds of stuff happening.
Yeah, life.
Well, it's good to have you back, brother. It's absolutely good to have you back. And we've got a hot topic for this evening, dude.
It's a hot one, that's for sure.
Gene Chizik and Tim Cross have been excommunicated out of the UNC program as of today by Mr. Mac Brown. Dude, I think we kind of thought this was coming for at least a little while. Am I being too easy with saying that, man? Is it am I being too forward with that statement?
No. I mean, I think Gene knew it before the ball game, and he said that, quote unquote, he'd like to say, but he would assess after the ball game.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of talk over the past couple of weeks, especially around that bowl game, about changes, especially on defense. Mac Brown spoke about them a lot and had a feeling it was coming. I think some things kind of led up to what we are seeing now. I think that even kind of started back a year prior. But thoughts about Gene Chizik and his time with UNC?
Underwhelming, I guess you could say. I mean, I guess it depending on who you ask, they wasn't exactly excited about Chizik when he was hired. You knew what Chizik, you got a taste of what Chizik's defense was, 2015, 2016. Then he had to step away for family issues. But you thought, well, he's coming in. He's coming in this time with a more highly rated, like the parts of the defense were highly rated. Unfortunately, the sum of those parts didn't equal a highly rated defense. I think if you compare stats of Jay Bateman's defense to stats of Gene Chizik's defense, Jay Bateman's defense was better. So this rekindling that Mac Brown tried to do with Chizik, there was where there was smoke, there's fire. Well, I don't even think we got a little puff of smoke over the last 2 years, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean,
Definitely don't think it helped there that he was out of the league for 5 years.
This whole bend don't break defense, not very aggressive. We're going to play a softer coverage. Well, I mean, today's quarterbacks are not like 10 years ago quarterbacks. The completion percentage is a little lower 10 years ago. You just quote unquote this, 10 years ago, you kind of just wait for an incompletion or a drop. But I mean, these kids nowadays, I mean, they're too good. I mean, they start playing when they're 5 and they play every day or, just about do some kind of football related activity every day until the time that they walk on campus. And so, I mean, you're asking the offense to make a mistake instead of the defense producing mistakes, You can't wait till you get inside the 20 to play deep. I mean, not what I mean. You can't wait to get inside the 20 to make a stop.
Yeah, to start playing some groundbreaking defense and aggressive defense.
So that system, I don't think is necessarily going to work in 2024 or 2024 going forward. I don't think it worked last year. I don't think it'll work 2 years ago. These quarterbacks are just too good at throwing 5-yard out passes. I mean, if you're going to give them 5 yards, I mean, you saw what Cade Klubnik did in the ACC championship against North Carolina. I mean, it was just 5 yards here, 5 yards there, and if your cornerbacks can't step up and make a tackle, then they'll take those 5 yards and turn them into 10 yards all day. And even if they would make the tackles, 5 yards plus 5 is 10, and that's a first down.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, absolutely. I absolutely 100% agree with you there. That scheme of defense it doesn't break. It does not work anymore. Unfortunately, you got to get after. You got to put pressure on the quarterback. Like you said, the quarterbacks are too good. I don't even care if they're FCS quarterbacks are giving this team a run for their money. And if you want to keep playing soft coverage and try and keep everything in front of you, yeah, they're going to chip away at you and get a first down here, there. Like you said, 5 + 5 = 10. You need 2 5-yard plays. Boom, that's it. It's good. One section of this is obviously Tim Cross, the man who came in with Mac Brown, the defensive line coach there. Tim Cross has been with this line ever since Mac came back in 2.0. He's been there the whole time. Under 2 different coordinators, he stayed throughout. He was the one consistent. And honestly, I mean, you never want to call for a man's job anymore. I mean, or at all, honestly. You never want to call for a man's job. But I think, speaking for myself, I believe this is the one that was the biggest and that maybe needed to be changed because you've got 4- and 5-star talent on that defensive line that's not panning out. And there was a little bit of talk last year about a potential change in defensive line coach for sure. But the rumor going around the campus was that, if Tim Cross leaves and if he was to be let go, that there would be a max exodus, if I could actually speak English today, exodus here out of that defensive line group, and you'd have 4 or 5 transfers easily. Well,
Yeah.
obviously changes needed to be made. So they made like a half change and brought in Ted Monachino. And he came in as a pass rush analyst. That was his gig. Now,
Mm-hmm.
in that aspect, North Carolina's pass rush numbers, their sack numbers went way up, their quarterback pressures went up. So they were doing, I mean, Cameron Rucker had his best season, in my opinion, this year.
Mm-hmm.
Des Evan had a little bit of a first half of the season looking pretty good. Back half, unfortunately, kind of fell off once again. A guy like Amari Gaynor coming in brought some help there as well at the Jack.
Yeah.
So those numbers went up. Unfortunately, one thing that killed North Carolina once again, the defensive line, your interior lineman, Miles Murphy, Travis Shaw. I thought personally, Jacoby Cowan, or Jacoby Cowan, Kevin Hester is who I'm thinking of here, got a little bit better. I thought he
Mm-hmm.
had a little bit better, but still, interior tackles, Tamari Fox, it killed you. It killed you this year. They didn't wow you. This is big time talent, big time guys there that big time recruits, especially a guy like Travis Shaw, second year in the program, and doesn't seem like he's getting any better. And unfortunately, it was kind of like he got put on probation this past season.
Yeah.
And for a little while,
Probation's a good word.
yeah, I think, yeah. But considering that Monachino was in, because Monachino was an in and out, one and done guy. He's supposed to be one and done. And there was some surprise that he was still around the program, a few weeks ago as they were getting ready for the Duke's Mayo Bowl. And as we know now, Ted Monachino is your brand new D-line coach. What do
Yeah.
you think about the D-line and the D-line for over the past 5 years now under Tim Cross? Is this a change that needs to be made? Alan, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, see, 5 years ago, that's ooh, I don't even,
2019.
yeah, I don't even know the defensive lineman from that far. That would have been what, Tamari Fox,
Tamon.
Tamon Fox. Well, his brother was there too.
Yeah, Tamon.
Oh, yeah, Tamari Fox is the one that's graduated. So
Yeah.
Tamon, I mean, he was quite honestly your best pass rusher.
Mm-hmm.
Um, who else? I mean, I don't know. So I mean, obviously it's nobody great because they're not sticking out.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like so. So yeah, I mean, you got what you had: Kevin Hester, Miles Murphy, Bingley Jones, Ravo Hassick. So Ravo Hassick, he
Probably your
he
best guy.
yeah, he's probably been your best interior lineman. But I mean, it's not like he was lighting it up.
Yeah.
You know, no, he still, they were, you know. So I mean, but I mean, you got Binkley Jones, he's gone. Kevin Hester, he's gone, right? Right.
No, he's still here.
Kevin, okay, so Kevin Hester, so we'll have him, and Binkley Jones is the one that's no longer with the program.
Correct.
Um, you'll have Travis Shaw, 5-star out of North Carolina. We'll see, playing 4 or 5 snaps a game in his second year.
Yeah, and he's actually taken to Twitter today and kind of made a little remark after the news was announced, saying, I think he said, "Of course, man," or something of the nature. So,
Of course, dot dot dot, hand in the face, yeah.
yeah, hand in the face emoji. That's it.
I mean, I think him and Tim Cross are, probably a little closer than some of the other guys. I've heard words like mentor being thrown around.
Yeah,
I think they had connections before he got on campus. So that one probably hurts him a little bit. Just from the emotional side. Then takes it to Twitter, but I think some of the responses that came after his tweet were pretty on point. You do your job, and you produce on the field, you make your coach look good. If you're not making your coach look good, then who's at fault? You or the coach? It's probably a case of both.
yeah,
The defensive line's not producing, so therefore the coach is going to take the blame. Well, the coach can only take the blame for so many years. Players come and go, and you're still here, and the defensive line is still producing the same, or like not producing. So I mean, it's if kids come and go, and the coach is still here, it's time for the coach to go. I mean, unfortunately, that's a man's job, and you hate to see somebody lose a job, but they get paid a substantial amount of money to do that job, and if they're not performing to the university standards, it's time to find another university they can perform in.
Yeah, I made a post here on the YouTube Hill Brothers account earlier, stating that both of these guys stand up dudes. I think we can both say that, absolutely for sure. These guys always talk really highly of the program, always back up Mac Brown. Always do their best to try and represent North Carolina with class and everything. These are great guys, but unfortunately, this is a business that's solely predicated on performance. And eventually, just like you said, if you come in and you're asked to do a job, just like anybody in the world, if you're asked to do a job, a boss, and you do not perform that job up to the standards in which they are set, because every boss everywhere is trying to win, right? They're all wanting to pad their money with pad their pockets with money and success and notoriety. That's what they all want to do. Every business in the country, I don't care if it's sports, business, it doesn't matter. It's the exact same thing. And unfortunately, if there's a weak link, the weakest link a lot of times gets cut. And this is a case in which it was time for the weak links to be cut. Now, we move on to what's next for North Carolina on the defensive side of the ball. Something I want to throw at you. And I just, kind of hearing stuff about this, and I kind of want to get your idea and opinion here, because obviously the defense right now it's actually set except for defensive coordinator. Very interesting choice. This is something that we've kind of saw before. Jay Bateman, and at the very end of his tenure, me and you was kind of talking about this around the Dukes Mayo Bowl in 21, that Bateman, because I think we all were kind of frustrated with the defense. Bateman needed to go. But after everything was said and done, there was kind of a question there as to whether or not that was actually the right choice, because, some news came out that he wanted to control who was on his defensive staff there, which is understandable. Defensive coordinators, you guys have to work with these people. Any coordinator, any coach, you have to spend a lot of time with these guys. A lot more, especially, in my opinion, in college than in the pros. Because in college, you got to go on recruiting trips. You have to go to people's homes, people's houses, see this stuff, see it live, go to high school, see games, be there live in person, make your recruiting pitch, go there for checkups, go there after everybody's committed to make sure that, hey, we want to make sure you're signing with this on signing day. Yep. And you've got to coach throughout the season and your postseason, whatever it is. So let me ask, since the defense is set, and quite frankly, in my opinion, I like Ted Monachino staying. I personally like that idea a lot. I think for what he was brought in to do, he did it with outstanding colors. I mean, I thought he did a great job of what he was doing. Now, he's coming as D-line coach, and I want to get to him in just a minute, but I want to bring this idea up to you now. Is there a problem, in your opinion, that the defensive coaching staff is set outside of coordinator?
So defensive staff. So what is that? Ted Monachino,
Charlton Warren, Jason Jones. I forgot who's coaching linebackers.
I don't know.
I forgot his name.
Was that Chiz's job?
It may have been, actually.
I don't know. Anyway, so I mean, you got Charlton, Jason Jones. So Charlton and Jason, they kind of do the same thing. One's DBs, one's secondary, right?
Correct.
So they both
Tommy Thigpen.
That's your linebackers coach?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, and I mean, I don't see how you get rid of Thigpen.
No, you can't. Absolutely.
I don't think your defensive coordinator coming in is going to be like, "Oh, Thigpen, you're out of here."
Yeah. Or Jason Jones, for that matter.
I mean, you got uh, Gimmel,
Cedric Power.
Cedric. I mean, Powell. I mean, look at Chaz Surratt.
Yeah, quarterback turned linebacker.
Chaz Surratt. Then Chaz turned it over to Gimmel. Gimmel turned it over to
Said
Cedric Gray. Cedric Gray's turning it over to Power and Campbell.
Mari Campbell looks good.
So I mean, you. I don't think you can fault Thigpen for that. So, um,
And I don't even think you can fault him for the maluse of Cheeks and Caldwell.
no, probably not. I mean, he's. I wouldn't think so.
Because there's been an issue playing depth all throughout
But
the whole team.
I mean, at the same time, you're a defensive coordinator. Say you're coming from XY University,
Mm-hmm.
and you're an established defensive coordinator, and you're coming from XY University. You have your secondaries coach. You know, they coach the way that you want to coach a defense. You know, they understand how you want your defense to set up and look and perform. Well, maybe you roll into UNC and Charlton and Jason don't like coaching DBs the way you want your defense to play your DBs to play in the defense, and then you automatically got clashing heads.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're going to have Mac Brown trying to be the mediator and be like, well, you know, these guys. Well, I mean, Mac Brown. What does Mac Brown say? Well, these guys are kind of here, and you know, y'all got to work together. So, I mean, the real question is, what defensive coordinator is going to come in or going to want to come in and not be able to bring his own? At least some of these guys. Maybe he like I think Jason Staples said on their little thing today. Maybe he, you know, the coordinator comes in and says, "Hey, I'll take this job if you know, come after spring, I feel like there needs to be a change in the position. Then I have the power to make that change."
Bingo. I like that.
But it has. If you're the coordinator of the defense, you have to sign off on the defensive coaches.
Yeah.
You have to wholeheartedly believe that the coaches that are in place to coach the kids that you are coordinating to put the defense on the field, you have to believe that those coaches believe and feel and trust that the defense you are providing for them to teach is going to work, and they can be successful at teaching it. If they can't teach it, maybe they just can't teach it the way you want it ran. Well, that's not their fault. But you were hired as the defensive coordinator. So if the defense is bad, the first door everybody comes knocking on, defensive coordinator. Who on Mondays or Tuesdays after the football game, who's the three coaches up at the press box? Mac Brown goes first. Then it's the offensive coordinator and the defensive coordinator. They're not asking, you know, they're not going to Ted Monachino on Monday and be like, oh, why did the defense give up 400 yards? He's like, well, you know, I just coach the offensive line. I can't say why the cornerbacks can't cover or the linebackers can't tackle or why, you know, such and such was out of place. They're going to ask the defensive coordinator that. And I'm sure the defense coordinator will be like, well, you know, I just, you know, linebacker coach B just can't coach the linebackers the way I need them. I want my linebackers to be here, and he can't seem to get them there. They're not going to stand at the press box and say that.
Yeah.
So, and then you just got the trouble behind the scenes. And, I mean, like Staples said, call Jay Bateman and see what you need to know before you decide to walk through those doors.
I would honestly say, you know, there's going to have to be some give here to Mac Brown. I saw a thing earlier. There was a quote from Action SEC beat writer in the state of South Carolina, as a matter of fact, and he said that he was kind of talking about the North Carolina changes there, and he says it seems like Mac Brown's on his final stint, like his last stand here. With everything, because you've fired offensive coordinators, you've went through two defensive coordinators, you fired. The next person up's him.
Oh
There's
yeah, I
no
agree.
other scapegoats here except, he's the last guy. And
Mm-hmm.
after everything, after the smoke is cleared, there's one man left standing there, and that's him. So I think Mac Brown at this point in time, and this is the thing I want to throw at you, and it's going back to Ted Monachino. Ted Monachino was a guy that wanted to come in for 1 year and go back coaching in the NFL. That's what he wanted to do. That was his plan. That was his idea. Everybody understood that. Mac Brown even said at the beginning of the year, Monachino will be with us 1 year. Clyde Christensen was going to be the guy that would probably be around the program, generally because family ties to the area of Chapel Hill. So, why is Ted Monachino still here? Monachino knows a ton of people in the NFL, a ton of people in the NFL, and for a guy that can clearly, in the next couple of weeks, when openings go nuts and bananas in the NFL, he could have left and went right back. He's got to know, or he's a guy that would probably want to know who his boss is going to be, right? So what makes me wonder this here is Monachino decided to stay without even testing the NFL. So it makes me wonder if he kind of knows who his boss is going to be. And there's some rumors within the program that this defensive coordinator thing is already done. And with respect to Gene Chizik, they're going to kind of let it ride for a few days. So are we looking at here a system in which, because Mac Brown knew this was going to happen. I mean, you could tell by the way he was answering questions, pre-bowl week. Also, Gene Chizik was answering questions pre-bowl week, that this was pretty much all set in stone, and it was just a matter of let's get through the bowl, and we'll get this settled afterwards. So
Yeah.
I'm curious here. What do you think, man? Do you think that there's actually a coordinator already in place and in mind and have been contacted with, and they're waiting for a few days? I'd say probably by the end of the week to finally announce this coordinator, whoever this is.
I hope for UNC's sake that's not the case. Because if that's the case, then it's another friend of Mac Brown. And we had this discussion earlier that UNC does not need a defensive coordinator that is a quote unquote friend of Mac Brown. Can Mac Brown and the defensive coordinator be friends? Sure. Of course, they need to be friendly and cordial. But at the same time, you need a defensive coordinator that's going to be like, you know what? I got this. Leave me alone. It's mine. I'm going to do it my way. Your defense sucked the past 5 years. You need somebody that can tell them it. And if you're a friend, like if you're friends, like if he's Mac Brown's friend, then they're not going to they're not going to hold each other accountable the way, say, like I'm not going to hold you accountable the same way I would hold an acquaintance accountable. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you're going to get that extra inch or two, leadway or forgiveness when that other person, they're not getting anything. It's like you need to get on it. Your defense needs to improve. Like Mac Brown needs to be able to go to him and be like, hey man, you got to step this up. I'm not saying he didn't do that with Gene Chizik. But at the same time, I think that accountability was a little less because they're friends. Like friends. Like we'll probably still hang out outside of work even after this. Like you gotta step outside of the box and find somebody that maybe it's not the right defensive coordinator. Maybe the defensive coordinator coming in doesn't have, might not. The defense might get better, but it might not blow you. The defense might not blow you out of the water, right? But at the same time, there'll then be that accountability. Like, hey, you got to improve this. You have to improve that. Like, you either fix this or you're going to, or you're not getting back on the bus. We'll see you later. One of them, we'll see you back in Chapel Hill, but you're finding a different way home, kind of thing. Something they probably should have done to a few coaches over the past couple of years.
Well, honestly, I do feel like there's already somebody in place, but I actually don't think it's going to be a quote unquote friend. So when you're coaching with different guys, your people becomes my people in a sense, right? Clyde Christensen is actually a reason that Max Johnson and was it Jacob Johnson or Jake Johnson or something? Jake Johnson are in Chapel Hill. They know he knows the Johnsons, and there's a good reason that he's here. And honestly, it's kind of helping our quarterback situation and really beefed up our tight end room as well. So it's something there. But also at the same time, I like that what Ted Monachino brought was physicality on the edge rushers for sure. Absolutely. You could see physicality there. They were getting after it and doing their best to get physical. So if the theory is correct and Monachino does happen to know, and he's okay with staying because he's pretty confident he's going to be there and passing up on an NFL gig, which he has had very high success rate in the NFL, coaching some great guys. It gives me a little boost of confidence, a little glimmer of hope, just a shimmer, because they need a guy to come in and say, listen, they need to go in the defensive room. The second he gets to Chapel Hill and he gets announced as defensive coordinator for North Carolina Tar Heels, and he's to walk in that room and say, look, this is how we're going to do this. We are going to go my way. And if you don't like it, you need to get out of the room. You need to hit portal. Peace out.
Mm-hmm.
You need to Deion Sanders that thing. He needs to go in there. Listen, I'm bringing my bags. And we're going to make this.
And they Louis. Well,
and they're
I don't think anybody's bringing their Louis Vuitton to Chapel Hill, son.
Well, nobody thought they were taking Louis Vuitton to Colorado either, but here we are.
That's Deion Sanders. There's for whatever. That's another thing you talk about. Ted Monachino don't want to go to the NFL. I mean, Deion Sanders made a good point. He's like, I can coach. I can coach college kids. I can coach young men. I can mold them. I can mold the young men into men. He's like, I don't feel like I can coach grown men because grown men are grown. There is no molding. There is no, forming opinions, helping them grow in the game of football. By the time you're in the NFL, you quote unquote made it.
Well, to that point,
so maybe Ted Monachino just likes to be in the college game, and has to reestablish himself in the college game because it's been since 2005 since he's been in the college game. So you got to start back at a position coach, and maybe he goes on and gets a decent job somewhere else.
If Monachino is going to sit here and mold some guys in the way that he was coaching guys back in the day, I'm perfectly fine with him being my coach in North Carolina. But obviously, this is the thing we're going to see. Obviously, you're losing some key pieces throughout the year, some depth pieces that you hate that you're going to lose to the portal, also to the NFL draft. I still think Miles Burford needs to pull his name out of that hat. I'm sorry, he is, unless some camp somewhere gets a hold of him and lets him do his thing and coaches him up, he does not need to go. For his own sake, he does not need to go. What?
Bye. Shoot. Just go. You had 3 years. If you can't do it in your 3, or if you can't do it in your 4, you're not going to do it in your 5. You're not going to do it in your 4th. It's time. Hit the reset button and it's time.
Well, let's hope that a guy like Travis Shaw can hit the reset button and get himself going. Let's put it that way, because he's the next man up. He's next man up in that position right there. So he's got to go. Tamari Fox is getting out of there too. He's gone. Pretty sure he's gone. It's going to be interesting to see what that D line looks like. But defensive coordinator wise, I don't really know. I saw Jay Bateman actually just got hired over there at Texas A&M with Mike Elko, which we'll be interested to see there. This is the first time he's gotten a coordinator gig since he left Chapel Hill. So we'll see how he does over there.
I mean, the reputation, I mean, he had to go back to a position coach job, after the debacle at UNC, which, I mean, I probably at this point, I still don't think is his, the entire thing is his fault. I don't think it was his scheme. I mean,
no, I don't think so either.
I just think it was behind closed doors, coaches didn't see it the way he saw it. And, they were more friendly with Matt Brown than Jay Bateman was more friendly with Matt Brown.
Yeah.
So,
I'll tell you this much. If all else fails, and this is a friend of Matt Brown that's coming in, all I'll say is a defensive coordinator at Georgia by the name of Will Muschamp wouldn't be half bad. Just saying.
I don't think Will Muschamp is going to leave Georgia's defensive coordinator for UNC's defense. He'd take a pay cut and a talent cut.
Hey, friends will do anything for friends anyway. At least some would.
No, I guess that might be the only friend that'd be okay then.
Yeah.
But,
that's the only one I'd recommend. Outside of that, everybody else, I mean, the older you get, the smaller your circle becomes. So you have to actually go out and make some splash hires, like a guy like Dabo Sweeney's having to do. He did his this past offseason with Garrett Riley, the OC over there. See how that goes. And it's interesting. It's interesting how this is playing out. But hopefully, if all else fails, I don't think we can expect the North Carolina defense to go. I mean, hold on a minute. This was a team that was in top 40, top 50 in the first 6 weeks. I mean, and then afterwards they dropped off.
Yeah, but I mean, I think the defense showed you what they was going to do or how the season was going to go in that Appalachian State game.
Well,
the outlier was the South Carolina game.
Honestly, dude, if you go look PFF, all these numbers, I'm telling you, they were a pretty daggum good defense first 6 weeks. Now, App State game was their outlier, like you said, but
USC was the outlier, and that team.
No. I'm talking about their bad game. That was outlier. But for the first 6 weeks, their worst game was App State by a long country mile. And
will you go to the store and get me some people?
No, go away.
No. Get me something in the iron shop.
Anyway. But through the first 6 weeks, the daggum defense was playing so much better. And I think one of the biggest problems that they had was was afterwards was not playing your guys. Not playing their guys. Not playing depth.
Life.
Yeah, life.
V-Bucks.
Mm-hmm. Oh, don't you love it?
Yes.
But what do you think, man? I guess honestly, we don't know until this new DC comes in. Curious to see how he is. Curious to see his age. Very curious to see that.
I hope he's young.
Hope
he's young.
And that's
30s.
kind of the ideal guy is a younger fella that's coming in with a desire and a passion and a guy you could see coaching in the next few years. Hopefully, if all goes right, maybe he could become the next coach of North Carolina. I guess we'll see what happens there.
Oh, what happened to Freddie Kitchens? Is he still with the program?
He sure is tight ends coach, one of the best tight ends coach in the country compared to a lot of different people on their sources there. And as long as he's still there, my gosh, man, that he really helped out even on the offensive line as well because his guys could block, and he really wanted to make sure they could block. Offensive line, I think they have the right guy in place for the offensive line. Randy Clements.
We got to get players on the offensive line.
Yeah, and he starts with Austin Blasky. They have offered another transfer out of the portal. We'll see how that goes. There's some key names that's coming up that are, being very slow.
Jeff Clark out of Louisville on the defensive line. He got an offer today.
Mm-hmm. There was another. I saw a couple of different guys. There was a guy that came out of LSU today, and
that's
linked.
I saw something on SEC something on Twitter saying, "Well, North Carolina pulled the trigger on firing their defensive coordinators," and they said, "At LSU and at USC, what are y'all waiting on?"
Yeah. A lot of people are saying some stuff like that. And I think was it maybe South Carolina said something about their guy still being there, but the running backs coach just left. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. I don't know what's going on with those programs over there, but North Carolina in search of a defensive coordinator, potentially. I think we'll probably hear some news here in the next few days. I just got a feeling. I've got a feeling that here in the next few days, we're going to see something. I'm curious to see what happens. And I don't know, man. I guess we'll find out soon enough.
I guess so. But
anyway, we're going to get out of here. Any more closing thoughts before we leave out of here, sir?
I hope we don't hear anything for a week or two. That's what I hope.
I guess we'll see. Today's Wednesday, right?
Wednesday.
Give it to Sunday. I think we'll have some news there. Anyway, maybe I'm wrong. Who knows? We'll see. Anyway, thank you all for watching. Thank you all for being here. Alan, we have to have you back on sooner than later,
Sooner.
We got some basketball to talk about as well, man. And the Diamond Heels, which I am so, gracefully representing this evening.
Yeah, I see that. It's a nice jersey. I think I have the opposite color as yours.
Huh?
Mine is the exact opposite color of yours.
Yeah, I thought about getting the deep navy too. I like the navy.
Blue jersey, white letters.
Our graphics here. Anyway. All right, we're getting out of here. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for being here. And as always,
go Heels.
You don't want none.
I'm good. I believe I'll die. I believe I will die. I believe I'll die. I believe I will die. I believe I'll die. I believe I will die. I believe I'll die. I'm good. I believe I'll die. I believe.
Time's up.